Howdy, I'm Phillip Martin. I will be making pizza for you, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you a little bit about myself. So I've been cooking for about 9 years in the LA area, and I started off by working at Jago Central, downtown, then the Bazaar, and a few really good restaurants like Alma and Patina. So up until about the quarantine, I was a chef at LACMA, and now I'm bringing my chef talents to YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and walk through some of the ingredients that I'm going to make for you, which is a pizza, but a little more different. I'm going to do a Spanish style pizza. So I'm going to walk through the ingredients. We have here peeled tomatoes. So these are from Italy. I like to kind of check the label. The price isn't too much. I got this for $3 per can. So you can always check right here, peeled tomatoes and where it's from. This one shows it's from Italy. I like to use it because the tomatoes from Italy in the can just have a much better flavor, not to mention texture and taste, which is going to be the main points when we're making something simple like pizza. I also have here a Spanish style dry sausage. So it's very similar to a pepperoni, but a little more spicier. So that's where I'm kind of going. Adding a little more spice to it just to make it a little more different. Some regular plain mozzarella. So you want the low moisture part skim. That's going to help the way it's going to melt on the pizza, how it's going to hold its shape, and how it's going to stretch apart as you're kind of eating it. There's different cheeses you can go with. This is the one that I'm going to choose. We also have here fancy pimentillos. These are also red bell peppers or piquillo peppers. If you see any of those, they go very, very well. They've been roasted and then they've been jarred. I have two different types of flours here that I'm going to use to rolling out my fresh pizza dough that I prepared. So I have a Caputo flour. This is used for pizzas, for breads, as well as pastas. So we're going to use this when we're rolling it out. And then I have also here a different type of semolina. It's very, very fine. It's called semola. So we're going to use this at the very end just to add some very nice texture to the crust and at the bottom of the pizza. Pizza dough. I brought here a sheet tray so we can add our proofing dough to it. So you're going to add a little bit of olive oil. And I just wipe it all over the bottom. I try not to leave too much excess onto it. You just don't want your dough to stick while it's proofing. And then we're gonna wrap that up with plastic wrap and set it to the side until the dough doubles in size. We're going to start off by cutting the Spanish style dry sausage. Very similar to a pepperoni, a little more spicier. So, my home cooks, please, we do not cook and allow our cutting board to run around. What I do is below my cutting board, under any surface, I add a couple wet paper towels here at the bottom. This works very well to grip your cutting board so you're not trying to dance and cut at the same time. So a lot of the time with these sausages, you really want to check the outside for the casing, if there's any type of material that's on the outside. This one seems pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut right through it. So you can use any different types of dry sausage, but what you're looking for is just to make sure that it's nice and dry. If it's too dry, when it cooks in the oven, it's going to become very, very chewy. So you do want to make sure that you enjoy a couple Scooby snacks while you're starting to make sure that everything tastes delicious. You want to make sure that you have nice uniform cuts. You can watch lots of videos of guys chopping really fast on YouTube, but what's the point if they don't look the same in uniform? Every bite has to be the same. So we're gonna drain the tomatoes. And the reason for doing this is because we're gonna hand crush the tomatoes. So we wanna get all the extra liquid that would normally make this very runny out and separate it from it. So since we're starting off with that, we're gonna leave this over to the side. I'm gonna use my hands to break this up a little bit so we can get some of the juice that's on the inside kind of strained out. And we're gonna have some fun with it anyways. We're gonna break it up with our hands. I've saved the best for last, the tomato sauce. So, like I said, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna break this up with our hands. So now's the time to call your children for help. So we're gonna break it up. If you gotta use your fingers to tear it up a little bit, just go ahead and do that. So when you're shopping cans of tomatoes, check the label. You're always gonna find where it's from, sometimes what type of tomato it might be. San Marzano is a very, very popular one. Roma is another one. These tomatoes, they just do very, very well when you use them for sauces. They have very nice body, nice deep color. When you want to make your own tomato sauce from fresh tomatoes, that's where you will kind of run into a lot of trouble. Fresh tomatoes, they have a lot of moisture. So yes, you could use this technique by drying out the chopped tomatoes so all the water strains out, but it never really comes out the same. If you have fresh herbs inside of it, like this basil, that's good. You want to go ahead and keep that. When we're mixing the tomatoes back together to find out what the consistency is, what we're looking for is a sauce that holds its shape, but it's not really runny. So now you can kind of see that all the tomatoes is really all broken up. Looks more like a pulp, which is what we're looking for. There's no solid pieces that are floating around. So everything looks nice and uniform. So we have all the liquid that's there. One can around the size that I got will get you enough sauce for about 3 to 4 pizzas. Just depends how saucy you like it. So as you see, it looks very, very thick right now. Not what we're looking for. We're adding the tomato sauce back in. I say 1 spoon at a time sometimes. You can always add more in, but you can't take it out. So as you see, it's looking a lot more runny than it did before, but we're gonna keep going. So now the sauce is starting to take more of a viscosity. That's gonna cook very, very well on top of the pizza. The sauce is gonna sit very nice. The toppings are not gonna drown. This is what we're looking for a good sauce. Next, we're gonna season. Now is the time to season our sauce. So, I'm gonna use pepper, salt, and red pepper. I'm going spicy today. So I have some coarse ground pepper, a nice amount of salt. I'm a chef, so I go heavy on the salt. I also go heavy on spicy. So we're gonna mix this together. And then we're gonna taste it. Like I said, I'm a chef. You use more salt. So just to show you how it holds its shape, but it doesn't spread, it doesn't move much around, it doesn't look very watery when it's coming out. You can see it's gonna spread very well. Next, we're gonna be cutting up the red bell peppers. So I'm gonna cut these up into some nice strips so they look very, very nice. So you want to flatten it out. Then you run your knife from the top to the bottom. It's always best to be doing strides towards yourself versus working away from you. You have a lot more power when you're holding your knife within your motions. So you have nice, beautiful strips to go right there on top. That's gonna look very good on the pizza. Now we're gonna start with grating off the cheese. So we don't need a whole lot for this pizza. I just like to shop at a discount. So we're gonna use about a very small piece. This is about 4 to 6 ounces. So we're gonna grate it. I like to use a little larger size versus the smaller size. So when you go with different types of cheeses, when you're gonna go a little more creative, you wanna make sure that you have a cheese that's gonna hold its shape very well. If you choose something that's gonna be too soft, those cheeses tend to have a really good amount of moisture. And moisture is very bad for pizza. When you get a lot of moisture on top, it tends to be a lot more watery. So you want a cheese that's gonna do very, very well in the oven, how it's gonna melt, and how it's gonna hold shape. So now I believe that we have enough for, no, let's keep going. There are different cheeses you can put on top of the pizza when it's done. So that doesn't always mean that you can put it on while it's baking. You can always put it on at the very end so it melts on top. That's always a really good addition to a pizza. More cheese. Make it rain. Alrighty, now that our dough has doubled in size, we're gonna roll out our dough. So we're gonna remove the plastic off the top, be a little gentle. You don't want to scrape up the top and make it not smooth anymore. When we're rolling out the dough, you want to keep all the edges still round, the top nice and flat, all that good stuff. So as mentioned earlier, I'm gonna be using a different type of flour. It's a much more thinner type of semolina. It's called samoya. So we're gonna put it all over the top. I like to put a little bit on the edges so it makes it a lot easier to scrape the bottom of it off. So we're gonna run it all along the bottom till it releases, like so. Then we're gonna put some flour down here at the bottom so it doesn't stick. So we're gonna add some more flour here on top. And now we're gonna start pressing it down. Be very gentle. I like to use both of my hands, keeping it very round as we're pushing the dough down. We're knocking out all of the air out of there, but we're going really gentle on the sides. We're not trying to make it flat or make it look like it's tapered on the edges. So now I'm gonna start using my fingers to press down here in the middle of the dough. And you're gonna notice that the dough is gonna start getting a lot more sticky to your fingers. When that happens, just add more flour. Now we're gonna flip it. See that it's not sticking. When it's sticking, just add flour. Don't be scared to add too much flour. It will just come right off when you're rolling it with your hands. And you'll have a nice big pile of flour on your wrists and elbows to make you remember the pizza you just rolled out. So still using my hands just to flatten everything out. All right. Let's take off the watch before I put a hole in my pizza. So I'm going to pick it up. Ooh. Alrighty. So now we're just going to work the dough around in a circle. I like to use my hands, both of them, and I'm just bringing my fingers up together to stretch the dough. As you see, just using my hands right on the edge, and the dough will stretch itself. You can see right through the dough, so you can notice where it's getting very thin. When you start noticing that, try to avoid the area and focus on something else, perhaps the other side of it, so you can see it stretch out in other areas. So as you see, it's starting to get nice and round now, which is the shape we're looking for of a pizza. I have here a pizza pan. You can use a pizza stone, like a ceramic. Those are very, very good because they retain the heat very well. But always important is that we want to dust our pan before we put the dough on there. This is going to prevent any type of sticking. It also adds a very, very nice texture at the bottom of the pizza. Gives it a very nice crust. I know I like to eat my pizza all the way to the crust. I don't save that for my dog. Mine. So now we're going to work the dough so we can put it on top of the pizza pan. I'm going to lay it right here on top. Now it's time for sauce. Alrighty, now we're going to put all of the toppings on top of the pizza, starting with the sauce. So we're going to put the sauce starting off right here in the middle. Put about 2.5 scoops. And then we're just going to spread it all over the top. Now, a couple things you want to look out for on your pizza is the sauce to make sure it's not too watery, but we took those steps to make sure that we don't have a watery sauce. Now, if you're wondering, what if I bought my sauce and it's not the consistency I want it to? You can still put it in a strainer, the liquid will come out, and you can just add to it, and you can still season it any way you like. So I'm going to add a little bit more sauce onto the top of this pizza. I just want to be able to cover the dough, but not enough to where you can't see it anymore over the entirety of the pizza. It's okay not to have sauce in certain areas. That's where the cheese will fall into. We got wonderful Spanish sausage on top as well. That's going to taste great. So next we're going to put on the pizza. We're going to put on the cheese. All over the top. You can also put it in smaller mounds if that's the way you like it. If so, just get the cheese and ball it up in your hand and just put it on small little mounds. And it'll be able to still have the same effect of where when you bite it, pulls away. Red bell peppers we're going to put on top now. And you want the toppings to go all the way to the crust and all around the pizza, so every bite is the same. And last, you can put the sausage right on top. That's what she said. You can also do a happy face on top if you want to feel really happy about your pizza. So just to kind of show you, right here on top, and it's ready to go in the oven. Now, my oven I have set to 450 degrees, so it's unbelievably hot in here, but we're gonna have an amazing pizza at the end of it. So sometimes you gotta put in a little sacrifice to have something that's very delicious. So if you have any other type of stone, maybe the directions are a little different, but you'll find out making pizza a few times at home, you'll wanna change a couple of things. Like on here on the crust, you can add some olive oil to add a nice crisp to it. You can put some semolina flour on the edge. That'll also give it a nice crunch to it as well. So there's lots of different things you can do with your pizza. This is where you want to get creative and fun with it. But this is what I'm gonna go with right now for mine. It's ready to go in. So we're about 5 minutes in, and you can already see that our pizza's cooking very, very nicely. The dough's puffing up, cheese is melting, the sausage is starting to curl up and crisp up on the edges. We're on our way to a delicious pie. So now the pizza doesn't just smell ready, it looks ready. So we've been baking this for about 15 minutes. We're gonna loosen it up. Now that this delicious bad boy is out of the oven, it is ready to eat. So as you see, the cheese is going to pull away. Nothing's falling off. Everything holds together. You have a very nice color, not too much color in the bottom, but it's nice and dry. Pizza's not loose. The sauce isn't taking over. Let's taste. Amazing. I think I'm gonna make this again later. I appreciate you tuning in and watching me prepare this delicious pizza, and keep an eye out for more videos. So like and share. Thank you.